Hello everyone, this is Anton Garcia Fernandez coming to you on YouTube from Jackson in the state of Tennessee here in the United States of America. And this morning, as I finish my coffee, I am sitting in front of the camera to share with you a very important landmark in the history of the International Club Crosby. This is a video that I am aiming specifically at the members of the International Club Crosby, but also at any Bing Crosby fans who may be out there. I want to share with you and tell you a little bit about an important landmark in the ICC, which is something I received a few days ago from my friend and fellow ICC member Perry Huntoon. Came all the way from Illinois, or all the way from the British Isles via Illinois, and it's the issue number 200 of Bing Magazine. Bing Magazine's issue from summer 2025. As you can see there with this nice color picture of Bing Crosby and that ribbon, that well-earned ribbon that says the International Club Crosby 200th edition. Well, this is Bing Magazine, and I am the North American co-editor of Bing Magazine, and my friend Malcolm Macfarlane, you probably know him from other videos here on my YouTube channel, and also from the monthly meetings that the ICC holds, hosted by Jason Lydiard. Well, he is the co-editor in Britain of Bing Magazine, Malcolm Macfarlane. But, of course, I must say that Malcolm does all the heavy lifting. I don't really do that much. And if this issue is in my hands, and if Bing Magazine has reached issue number 200, it has a lot to do with the hard work of other people who came before me, and particularly of Mr. Malcolm Macfarlane, who does a fantastic job. Now, this is issue 200, and I just want to show you a little bit what kind of content we have in this very special 200th issue of Bing Magazine. First of all, we have the editorial, and there is a part of the editorial that, as the North American co-editor, I write, and then there's a part that Malcolm writes himself. And to start this video, I want to read the editorial to you, the part of it that I have written, because I think it's important to celebrate issue number 200. As I said, it's a big landmark for this publication and also for the club. So I wrote, "You are holding in your hands the 200th issue of Bing. 200, that number alone attests to the quality and enduring appeal of Bing's music. Well remembered and still popular, especially when the holidays roll around, almost 100 years after Crosby made the record that kicked off his illustrious career as an artist. I've Got the Girl in 1926. 200, that number also stands for the relentless hard work of several generations of men and women whose undying passion for the music and figure of Bing Crosby led them to want to share it with one another and with the entire world through the ICC, which in its many different iterations throughout the decades has become the longest-running fan club in history. As Crosby aficionados, we feel very proud of that and are very thankful for the enthusiasm and support of so many people around the globe. And so there it is, 200 issues later, we are still celebrating Bing Crosby, the man and the artist, the jazz and pop singer, the actor, the radio and television star, the golfer, the family man, the pioneer in too many fields to count. One feels that the word legend is quite overused these days, labeling too many people to whom the label can hardly be applied in earnest. It is not the case with Bing Crosby, though, who had already become a living legend a mere decade and a half into his highly successful solo career, and who remains a legend of 20th century music almost half a century after his passing on that fateful golf course in Madrid back in 1977. The ICC and these 200 issues of Bing are just two of a myriad examples of Crosby's legendary status, and along with the substantial bibliography that exists on his life and career, the magazine remains an invaluable source and repository of information on all things related to Bing that are worth discussing. So before passing the baton on to my fellow British co-editor Malcolm Macfarlane, I would like to take a few moments to remember, as Bing himself sang in one of his lesser-known 50 singles. All contributors to Bing, past and present, without their love and curiosity for Crosby's oeuvre, without their deep knowledge about it, and without their passionate, rigorous work, the ICC would not be possible, and we never would have been able to reach this milestone. In a world where most things have gone digital, in keeping with all kinds of swift technological advances, it is very special indeed to be able to hold in your hands every new issue of Bing that turns up periodically in your mailbox, and it is very enjoyable to read it quietly without the need for a screen or an internet connection. Hey, but have I already mentioned that this is issue 200? Well, it seems hard to believe, but it is. And it's all thanks to all of you and to so many that have come before us. Here's to a wonderful summer, wherever you may be, and to at least 200 more issues of Bing. And then I pass the baton on to Malcolm Macfarlane, who also talks about this special issue number 200. The International Club Crosby, and this magazine is the way in which we communicate with an important number of Bing Crosby fans all around the world, because the members of the ICC are not only in the UK and in Ireland and in the US, but also in Australia, also in South America, also in other parts of Europe. And this is the vehicle to communicate our admiration and our love for Bing's music and our passion for his work. And yes, the ICC is the longest running fan club in history. Now, inside the magazine, which is a magazine that has about 56 pages, that turns up in members' mailboxes 3 times a year. Inside this issue 200, we have a secretary/treasurer's report, in which we have a little bit of information about the history of the club. And I want to read a little bit from this pages here written by Michael Crampton, who talks a little bit about the history of the ICC. As has been mentioned, this is the 200th edition of Bing magazine, and perhaps a little history may be appropriate. Yes, sir. Here we go. The original American fan club, called Club Crosby, was formed in 1936. We're talking about almost 90 years ago. So that's why the ICC, in its different versions throughout the decades, is the longest running fan club in history. Following a magnificent 66 years of publication in various formats, Bing Gang was amalgamated with the British-produced Bing magazine in 2003, after the merger of the American and British fan clubs to form the International Club Crosby. 2026, so next year, I'm recording this in July 2025, 2026 will mark 90 years since Club Crosby was formed, and we shall be marking it appropriately next year. The British Bing Club had been launched in 1950 and changed its name on several occasions, eventually having a spell as the British Crosby Society. Its publication was Crosby Post until the club was reorganized in 1965 as the International Crosby Circle, with an improved magazine called Bing. This was edited initially by Frank Murphy, who was followed by John Bassett in 1971, and by Reg Bristow from 1975 to 1989. That first issue in January 1966 of 32 pages eagerly awaited the issue of the LP Bing Crosby Sings the Great Country Hits, whilst the reprise single of The Wide World of Winter / or backed with The Secret of Christmas had mixed reviews. Frank liked the second title but was not keen on the first one. An article by golfer Day Rees about the Crosby Pro-Am was reproduced, and there were reports from Australian members amongst other features. We still have reports from one of our Australian members to this day. The British International Crosby Circle was, however, significantly reorganized in 1989 following Mr. Bristow's resignation because of ill health. There was a new management team with me, Michael Crampton, as secretary-treasurer of the club, and Ken Crossland as editor of a revamped Bing magazine. Malcolm Macfarlane was Ken's assistant, and Ken handed over the reins to him in 1993. Ken laid down some guidelines which we have followed ever since. And here are the guidelines, and this is, I think, very important to read and very important to understand. There's 4 guidelines. Number 1, the magazine is intended to cater for all who enjoy Bing, from the collector to the connoisseur to the critic to the casual fan. Number 2, the pages of the magazine will be open to anyone with something to contribute to the memory and reputation of Bing. Number 3, the magazine will not be given over to criticizing other singers and other types of music. We would not wish it to be done to us, and we will not therefore do it to them. And number 4, the magazine is yours. Other than in the editorial column, you will not find a commentary by the editor running through the journal, nor indeed will you find the editor writing the journal for you. You must subscribe and support by giving us your views, your articles, and anything else that you can offer. Those are the 4 guidelines for Bing Magazine, and we have worked hard at bearing them in mind and going by them in these 200 issues of the magazine. In 2002, it had been suggested that the best way forward might be for the 2 main Crosby clubs to merge. A year-long consideration of this suggestion took place after private discussions at the Hofstra Conference, very important conference that took place at the beginning of the 2000s, and out of which many things came, one of them a very interesting book about Bing Crosby. It was eventually agreed that the American Club Crosby would merge with the International Crosby Circle, and this was finalized in 2003. The new combined club was named the International Club Crosby, or ICC, and the club magazine was to be simply titled Bing. Wayne Martin worked closely with Malcolm Macfarlane for the first year, and then Wayne passed over his role to Greg Van Beek of West Bend, Wisconsin, who became American co-editor. Anton Garcia Fernandez, yours truly, succeeded Greg in 2016. But again, I must admit that most of the heavy lifting, most of the work, 95 to 99% of the work is done over in England by the great Malcolm Macfarlane. Starting in 1966, the British Bing magazine was published quarterly, but this was reduced to 3 times a year when the new team took over in 1989. So here we are many years later in 2025 with the 200th edition of Bing. Our thanks go to all the loyal Crosby followers who have helped us reach this significant milestone. And I would say that an important thing for us is that this magazine remains a high-quality publication with lots of interesting articles, lots of pictures, and contributions from as many Bing fans and members of the club as possible. Sometimes the members themselves appear in some of those pictures. Like in that case, in this picture we have Barry Hontoon with Scott Payne in Ottawa, Canada. And then, as you can see there in the contents section, there is a lot of information. There's a lot of material about Bing Crosby. By the way, that's Michael Crampton right there, who wrote that really interesting and concise history of the ICC. We talk about new members, also unfortunately about some of the members who have passed away in Canada, in the United Kingdom, in the United States. There's some information that you may be able to find in the news about Bing Crosby. One of his mansions is listed in California for $40 million. I don't think I'll be bidding for that one. And then there's an entire section here about the online meetings that are held and hosted by Jason Lydiard. You see him right there in that picture, smiling. These are meetings that are held online via Zoom every first Sunday of each month except for the month of August. And they are also made available on YouTube on this very channel. And there is a playlist that has all of them under, I believe, the heading of International Club Crosby online meetings. Then we have a little article by Malcolm about 8-track Crosby. Some of the albums by Bing Crosby that were at some point available on 8-track. Jim Kukura writes about Bing in song lyrics. Then we have some Bing Crosby advocates who got together. You can see a picture of them right there. Amaray Dawson from Franklin, Tennessee, not that far away from where I live here in Jackson. She has collected all of those albums by Bing Crosby, the Hollywood albums. Some of them are available on CD and some of them are not. Some news about the Mario Lanza Institute that hosted a presentation of Bing Crosby by Bill Picone from Levittown, Pennsylvania. And then we have an article by Catherine Salgado. Salgado is a Spanish last name, I believe, or Portuguese. And this is an article that is reprinted here from her Substack newsletter about untold stories. Bing Crosby, the squarest guy in Hollywood. Sometimes we do ask for permission to reprint some article from other publications or from online websites. There's also here, Malcolm Macfarlane has written about the KMH, the Kraft Music Hall scripts. And as you can see, this is profusely illustrated with pictures. Let me see what else there is in here. Oh, Lorne Harrison outlining the common problem that he shares with Bing, the fact that Bing was colorblind, I believe. I have not read this yet, but our members do contribute articles about different facets of Bing's life and career. I myself write some once in a while when time permits. There are some reviews here of books that are about Bing or mention Bing in some way. A Popular Voice, a musical record of the 60s and 70s. That's a long review, several pages long, by Derek Jewell. And Crosby's Curse, the story of Bing Crosby's World War II bomber, a book about the Boswell sisters, who, of course, have had some intersection in their careers with the career of Bing. A book about Ira Gershwin, one of the greatest lyricists in American music history. 20 years since the Landmark Film Society of Lincoln Center tribute to Bing in New York. Martin McQuaid was the driving force behind this. And there's a little article about it right here. That includes a picture that shows the recently deceased Catherine Crosby, Bing's second wife. There's an article here from John Newton on Bing Crosby's picture records. Very interesting. Some people think that picture discs began in the 60s and 70s with the Beatles and the like, but no, they've been around for a whole lot longer. John Bassett has made a discovery regarding a song of Bing Crosby's. That's what life is all about, and shares it right here with everybody in a short piece. Celluloid Crosby, David Duncan, notices a change of direction in the Crosby film roles. Of course, we talk about the music of Bing Crosby, his life, his career, but of course also his films, his radio and TV appearances. Ooh, there's Bing Crosby with a very young Natalie Wood. Where are they now? What happened to the child actors who appeared in Bing Crosby films? For example, the kid in The Country Girl. And good news from Pantelis Kavouras, one of our youngest members from Greece. He has been very active in the meetings that we have monthly, and he also talks here about Bing Crosby's classic radio broadcasts. And John McElwee talks about Road to Singapore, the first road movie with Bing Crosby, Dorothy Lamour, and of course Bob Hope as well. Being a magazine to which you can write via regular mail and also via the internet, via email, we have this One Sweet Letter from You section with some of the mail that we received from different parts of the world, the UK, Australia, the Netherlands, Ken Crosland talking here about a Southern memoir, this section called Crosbyiana. Very nice pictures here. Bing and Connie Boswell right there, and right here is Ken himself. Looking good in front of Basin Street. Well, not in front of, but at Basin Street. Graham Pascoe sends a note from Australia. We have fans in all different parts of the world. There's also a piece by Russ Hall called Faraway Places. And Bing on the Box is a section in which Malcolm Macfarlane surveys the TV and radio scene, not of Bing Crosby's heyday, but of the last 4 months. In the UK, in Ireland, and also in the US and Canada. And once in a while is the section where we remember personalities somehow related to Bing Crosby's life and career that have recently passed away. One of them, Bob DeFlores, Larry Tamblyn, the brother of actor Russ Tamblyn, and Philippines-born dancer Patrick Adiarte. And of course, since the ICC is almost 100 years old, really almost 90 years old, we do have this final section called, not final, but towards the end, The Way We Were, highlighting some important things that happened in Bing history 100 years ago, 75 years ago, 50 years ago. Recording with Fred Astaire. There's Bing Crosby. Recording with Fred Astaire. And then keeping track is a section in which John Mumm, another one of our young members, who talks about digital downloads, DVD, CD releases. High Society is coming out. New edition of High Society on Blu-ray. And of course, at the end, we usually have a letter or two written by Bing Crosby, a reproduction of a letter. And because this is the 200th issue, the back cover includes the covers of Bing magazine at different stages of its long history, of its 200 issues right now. So what I wanted to do is just make you aware of the existence of the International Club Crosby, the fact that Bing magazine has reached its issue number 200. And from here, from Jackson, Tennessee, I just want to thank everybody who might be watching this, who is a Crosby fan, or a member of the ICC, or who has contributed articles, pieces, information to any of these 200 issues of Bing magazine, and who will continue to do so in the future. The club exists because we love Bing Crosby's music, but also because we are willing to share our knowledge and passion for the music of Bing Crosby. And we've never had a problem with that. Malcolm is flooded with material for each issue, and that's a good sign. Some younger members of the ICC are beginning to become really active within the monthly meetings and in the magazine, and that is really good news for the survival of the club as long as it is possible. The ICC, International Club Crosby, the longest fan club in history, reaches a milestone, reaches a big landmark. Bing magazine has just published in the summer of 2025 its 200th edition, and it's time to celebrate. Thanks, everyone. Congratulations, everyone, and long live the music and the work and the career and the memory of the great Bing Crosby. I'm Anton Garcia Fernandez from Jackson, Tennessee, thanking everyone and signing off for now. Thank you, everybody.